Welcome everybody to Cooler Master's video installation guide. I will be showing you how to mount your component into our Cosmos Sport here. Before we begin, I will show you all the components that we will be using to install this case. These are the components that we will be using to mount our Cosmos Sport. Memory sticks, video card, hard drive, optical drive, accessory box which is located inside your Cosmos Sport, motherboard, CPU cooler, and the CPU was pre-installed already. And we have, last but not least, our Real Power Pro 850. Now we can begin the first step into mounting the Cosmos. Before we begin, you need to remove both of the side panels in order to start mounting your component. To do so, you will find two latches in the back of the case, which will make it easier for you to remove the side panel. There are no screws needed to do this. When you remove the left side panel, you will notice on the back of it that we have mounted a 200mm cooling fan that will not only cool your video cards but your entire motherboard as well. Once both of the side panels are removed, what you will need to do next is look for your accessory box, which is located inside the chassis directly inside the 4-in-3 device module. And when you open it, you will find all the accessories that you need, and the ones that you need to look for before you begin mounting anything would be the screws. Once you have that, we can begin mounting the motherboard standoffs directly onto the motherboard chassis. These right here are your motherboard standoffs. For this particular chassis, we will use a standard ATX motherboard. So what we will do is mount the 9 motherboard standoffs onto the chassis. Now that we have all 9 of the motherboard standoffs, the next thing you will need to do is get your motherboard and align it to each of the motherboard standoff screws. Now that your motherboard is aligned with the motherboard standoffs, you will need to gather these hexagon shaped screws and start mounting them onto your motherboard. Now that the motherboard is fully mounted onto the chassis, we can begin to mount the power supply. And in this chassis, the power supply goes with the fan facing down. Now that we have the power supply mounted on here, you have to locate the 4 screw holes that are located right here. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And the screws that you will use for this are the same ones that you use for your motherboard. Now that the power supply is mounted onto the